If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be. Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me. So good to me. Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me. So good to me. Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me.
What's going on, everybody? It's your brother, Aman Allah, and to my left,
Mathathias,
yes,
Shalom.
yes, sir, yes, sir. And we are on for another Wednesday. Y'all got to see me, I think, twice in a row now, because I believe I taught last week. So we're continuing the whole Babylonian foundation aspect, and today is actually the fall of Babylon in reference to, you know, the Bible and our forefathers, and also just the accepted world history events with it as well. So that's what we get in tonight. It's Wednesday, True Nation World History Presentation. So without any further ado, let's try to get that understanding. So briefly to mention last time, you know, Israel, Judah in particular, and Benjamin and some Levites and some other tribes are currently in the captivity, 70 years and ongoing within the Babylonian Empire. Now, one thing that's important to point out is that this is not the same Babylon that was, I guess I would say, founded when Abraham was, you know, living and walking. This was considered in world, you know, reviews and historical accounts like Britannica, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So something that happened with a particular city-state that allowed them to become a world power or empire of the Middle East. And that lasted for so long until eventually it began to fall down and crumble. And our main biblical framework that we're looking at is a man named in the scriptures Nebuchadnezzar. So we can go to the book of Daniel, and we could read from chapter 2 and verse 1.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 1. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to shew the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king.
So at this point in time, you know, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, they've already been running and doing what they had to do, taking over different city-states and incorporating them again into their empire for a cool minute. But now at this particular time, with this particular king, Nebuchadnezzar, who historically, we're going to get some proofs in a minute, is identified as the man Nabonidus, he's starting to have visions of anxiety and terror. And these are coming spirits of prophecy that is being laid upon him of the eventual demise of his kingdom or his empire and the transfer of the power that's going to be. But at the beginning, he's getting this particular dream. And he's actually going to get a dream of many empires to come even after his. You can actually jump down in this chapter. You could jump down to verse 31. So this is at the time when Daniel, who's up in the upper echelons of the kingdom, now explains and elaborates the dream, this particular dream that he has.
Verse 31. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thigh of brass.
So again, this is the image. Let's jump down to verse 36 to actually get the interpretation.
Verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
So right there, Daniel's letting you know that your kingdom is not going to be lasting forever. There's going to be another kingdom shortly in some time that you're not aware of that's going to rule over you. And, you know, he continues on with the dream of the images, and Daniel himself is distraught, and Nebuchadnezzar is distraught for a time, to a point to where he's actually acknowledges Daniel and the God of Daniel, Yahweh, to be by decree not ridiculed, and to not ridicule for this particular point in time the Jews within the Babylonian Empire. You know, it'd be short-lived, because these kings and the heathen of the other nations, they don't always recognize Yahweh's authority for too long. It'd be short-lived ultimately. So we can actually go and continue with this. This is some of the main final blows to the reason why Yahweh took out their kingdom. You could jump down in the same chapter, not the same chapter. Go to chapter 3 and read from verse 1.
Chapter 3, verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces, to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up.
You could jump to verse 5.
Verse 5. That at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king hath set up.
So no matter who you were at this point in time, this particular Nebuchadnezzar made this image for all of his kingdom and all of his region to fall down and worship. So this was something that, again, they're not strange to, but when you actually dig into the history of what he actually did, I'm gonna bring this out a little bit later, but this was a new god. This was a new god, no different than all the other false gods that they, worship anyway. It wasn't Yahweh, but this was a new god that he instituted within the Babylonian Empire for everybody to worship. So, in complete disregard of Daniel and Daniel's customs and his own God, he at this point is like, well, Daniel, you and your friends, which is going to come up in a minute, if you don't bow down and worship this new God that I'm instituting within my empire, you're going to be put to death in a fiery furnace. So you could actually bring that out in read from verse 6.
Verse 6. Verse 6. And whoso falleth not down and worship it, shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace.
Verse 8.
Verse 8. Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and they said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
So as you know, Daniel and then his 3 other friends, they are righteous people of the Most High. So they're not about to just follow this, lackadaisical decree that was put out and just start worshiping and bowing down to an image created by man that people believe has the spirit of some force or power in it. Daniel's not having that because he understands the true living God of heaven. So he refuses, and people snitch on him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, the same king that he interpreted the dream from, says, "Hey, well, if you don't do this, this is a bad look. I'm a king. I'm gonna have to put you to death." And Daniel and his 3 friends are like, "Bet. You can do that to us. Put us in the burning fiery furnace, and I bet that our God will save us anyway." And that's exactly what happened. Go down to verse 23 and read on.
Verse 23. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, "Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They answered and said unto the king, "True, O king." He answered and said, "Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God."
So after this miraculous event, Daniel and his 3 friends, along with the form of the Son of God, Yahweh there personally to do the rescuing, they survive. And this is something that King Nebuchadnezzar, for the time being, humbles himself to. He humbles himself to the power and the God of Israel. But again, initially, this was in addition to all the things that Babylon, Neo-Babylon, was about. This is an additional offense that the Most High found offending to his babies, to the children of Israel. So he found that the Most High found that offensive, and that wasn't his only offense. Now we're going to chapter 4, and verse 4. Another dream, another troubled vision that the same Nebuchadnezzar is now having, that Daniel is going to interpret for him again.
Chapter 4, verse 4. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house and was flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream.
So that's this again, another a dream of anxiety that Nebuchadnezzar is having. You could jump down to let's see. You can read from verse 23. So Daniel is now elaborating on the dream that he's eventually going to fall into doing.
Verse 23. And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king. This is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whoever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee, after that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility.
So the interpretation is you yourself are this tree that has grown past the heights of the earth and is now within the clouds and the heavens, reaching to the heavens, which is like the footstool and the dwelling place of the Most High. That's how the Most High is feeling about, and that's how the king of Babylon was feeling about himself. Almighty and all-powerful. But in the midst of that dream, angels came and cut it down to the stump and to the root, which is interpreted as, hey, you yourself, Nebuchadnezzar, are going to go mad for 7 seasons, 7 years in the wilderness, and you're going to lose your wits until finally the times pass, and you're going to recognize again the authority of Yahweh, the living God, the most creator, the true living God, and not the gods that you have set up for yourself within Babylon, whether they be Marduk or in this particular case for this Nebuchadnezzar, a god named Sin. You're going to recognize the true living God in the midst of your empiring within of the other nations, taking away their lots and inheritments, which the Most High never wanted to happen. Were you about to say something?
No.
Con. So that's, Daniel's warning to Nebuchadnezzar. But does he listen? No. And you can read that from verse 28.
Verse 28, all this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, giveth it to whomever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, as he was driven from men and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws.
So it came to pass, the pride of Nebuchadnezzar, who is this Nabonidus, which we're going to bring out historically right now, he didn't let it go, and the Most High's dream prophecy came true. He became mad for 7 seasons according to the Bible, 10 years in other sources, which we're going to bring out, and the proof came to pass. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over for you guys, image-wise. I'm going to show you 2 accounts. And if Mathathia, because I know he has some notes, if he wants to bring out the information he has on the one, I just want to show you guys visually that this judgment actually was recorded in what we call extra biblical evidence. So the Bible says this Nebuchadnezzar went into the wilderness for 7 years and was crazy in the head, and his hair grew and he just became unkempt. And also we have world history sources, throughout accepted sources like Britannica encyclopedias that prove the same thing, as well as just the archaeology. So let me show you guys one of 2 things. I'm going to bring out this image for you guys while taking away this. So this is called the verse account of Nabonidus, and it reads in the image, the verse account of Nabonidus simply states that during his 3rd year, he entrusted his army to his eldest son, which is actually recorded in the Bible.
It's not on the screen.
Well, it's not on that screen, but they could see it online.
Oh, okay.
My bad. Yeah. And his firstborn, the troops in the country he ordered under his command. He let everything go and entrusted his kingship to his first son, Belshazzar, who is actually also written about in the Bible as well, too, what we're going to bring out. So this is a Babylonian account that he had left his kingdom, and he's actually wandering within the wilderness of Tema, which is the Arabian Peninsula. The second source is this one, which is the Nabonidus Chronicle. And the Nabonidus Chronicle tells of the fall of Babylon of Nabonidus, the last king of the events leading to the final days. And reference again is made to his son Belshazzar, who co-ruled as regent with his father. And this is basically, this one is basically a Persian and Mede propaganda, and they're letting it be known that the king of Babylon, Nabonidus, Nebuchadnezzar, was in Arabia and away from Babylon and just wandering around for about 10 years. So these are extra biblical evidences that prove that the Most High's prophecy and making him a madman actually came to pass. So we're gonna exit out of that. Mathathia, if you have any more expansion on what you took notes on, you can definitely speak too.
No, you hitting it right on the foot right there, man. Good job.
All praises. So yeah, again, there's when you dig hard enough, and it's not easy, but you know, names aren't always the same, but the patterns match. You know, the historical patterns match about what we get in the Bible. So again, one of the second offenses of the last offenses by Babylon, by Nebuchadnezzar, was made by his pride in himself and the things that he did, and the God, particularly the God that he also worshiped too, led to the fall of Babylon, even though it hasn't happened exactly at this point yet. So now again, so Nebuchadnezzar is gone with these 10 years. Who's ruling? We go to chapter 5. It's actually his son, Belshazzar. You can read from chapter 5 and verse 1.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 5, verse 1. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to thousands of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
So imagine that. The holy vessels, which are the utensils used for God, Yahweh's sacrifices, were used by Belshazzar, the son of Nebuchadnezzar, to feast and honor other gods with. So this is another strike and offense against the kingdom of Babylon and their pride and arrogancy, let alone the fact that what they did when they took over Jerusalem, they went overboard with, because they were just instructed. The Most High allowed the Babylonians to take the children of Israel into captivity. But what they did was they actually destroyed Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, and that's why they have these vessels. They had no part in the house of Yahweh, but they seen it fit for themselves to take that, when the instruction was, just take my people away from the land because they're pissing me off right now. But no, the Babylonians offended not the children that deserved the punishment, but they offended Yahweh in the process as well, too. And taking the fence further, they're now feasting with his vessels, his golden vessels and cups and plates and all that thing, to a feast to another God, who I'm going to explain historically what that was actually in a minute too. So immediately after doing that, we get into verse 5, another judgment miracle that happens upon the son of Nebuchadnezzar.
Come on. Verse 5, in the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace, and the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another.
So Belshazzar starts to see an apparition. And I don't like to say apparition because I feel like that word is subjective. When people say apparition, I think they think, oh, you're tripping on yourself. You know, you've seen something that nobody else seen. But this is something that the king seen that everybody was aware of. So this was a supernatural occurrence of a hand that came out of nowhere and started writing things on the wall pertaining to ultimately destruction of Babylon, which the Most High can do at will, because the Most High is not only just spirit, he's flesh, and he can combine the two whenever he wants. So jumping right into it, this is what the interpretation of the writing was. You can go to verse 24 or down.
Verse 24, this was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, mene, tekel, Uphar, sin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it.
So I want to kind of break these down a little bit. So mene, God has numbered thy kingdom and finishment. Again, how many? This is the third offense in the book of Daniel that we've written that had offended the Most High God Yahweh. So again, the Most High has been keeping track of all these offenses. And we're going to get to the previous offenses as we dig deeper into the extra biblical history in a minute as well too. But mene, so read on.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
Khan, and this one is special in itself. The kingdom is divided. The big history with that was Nebuchadnezzar and his son Belshazzar were a special case. They actually came from the city-state within the empire called the Chaldees. The Chaldees were basically the according to history, the city-state of Ur, which dates back more towards like the Sumerian times when Nimrod was the first king over the world and his empire. That's the history of the Chaldeans. So the Chaldean, this is pretty much how polytheism works. Within Sumeria and with Babylon included, and even Ur and the Chaldees, each of these city-states are usually operated and ruled by different gods. So the reason why the kingdom was divided was because Babylon initially is supposed to be ruled by the false god Bel or Marduk. But where the Chaldeans are from, the god that their city-state worshiped was another god called Sin or Nana, which was supposed to be like a moon god. So now the kingdom is divided because you got Nebuchadnezzar when he instructed to make that golden image. That was basically the image of his god from his city-state, the god Sin, which was, again, at odds with what the Neo-Babylonian Empire was used to worshiping, which the Bible even references as Bel or Marduk or Merodach. So that's already political divide. If you didn't know, the worship of different gods affects business, finances, and traditions and customs within a particular city or region. So now again, you've got this political divide happening because of these different power struggles by these different false gods in this kingdom. And the Most High is letting it be known. He's like, look, your kingdom's divided, and now it's about to be taken over by a people that at least acknowledge me to be supreme. And that's going to be a whole nother lesson in itself to break that down. But that's the meaning of the many tekel of Sharon. Excuse me. So you can read on from there.
We stopped at okay, 28, 29. Verse 29. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
So at this point in the book of Daniel, that's the end. That's literally the end of the Babylonian empire right there. That's the transition was officially made to the Medes and the Persians from this point right there, with Nebuchadnezzar's son Belshazzar as co-regent or co-king, because the history tells you that it'll tell you that, oh, it was either Belshazzar or Nebuchadnezzar, who was Nabonidus. We can't determine who was the last king. They were both basically co-regenting, because eventually Nebuchadnezzar, Nabonidus, he did regain his sanity, and just like the previous dreams before, and even Belshazzar right here, we acknowledge Daniel and Daniel's God, but it'd be so short-lived. It'd be so short-lived at the acknowledging of the true living God that we and our people serve. So the Most High goes and does what he does best, and putting certain people in positions of power and removing others. So we're going to get into a little bit more of those biblical details with that too. We're going to start with Isaiah chapter 13. Isaiah chapter 13 through 14, and we're going to kind of jump around with that in that too. So again, this was already prophesied already, but again, these last three things that we read about in Daniel, those were at the kingdom being numbered, those are the last strikes against Babylon. Dang, where's Isaiah at? Almost there. There you go. So Isaiah chapter, you can start at chapter 13 and verse 1.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 1. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that they rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together, the Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land.
So both in Isaiah and in Jeremiah, you're going to see the reference of the destruction of Babylon many times, talking about they're coming from the north. They come from the north to do the Most High's will. The main particular kingdom, and I'm going to bring out for you guys a map in a second, but eventually it's going to let you know in the prophecy, the main kingdom from the north of Babylon, which is in particular the ruling city-state of Babylon, the Neo-Babylonians, was the Chaldeans. That's why Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar were kings. The Chaldean city-state was the home base of the whole empire. And north of that, when you look at a map, happens to be the kingdom of the Medes and their particular city-state, which is Anshan. So this is extra information, but you could look into this, and I'm about to show you right now on a map. But it's talking about a country far from the north that's coming against Babylon in this particular instance. So we're going to choose and pick some stuff again. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to have Mathathia keep reading and jump in, and I'm going to show you guys the map as well, too. So you can actually, Mathathia, you can go to verse 14 in that same chapter.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 14. And it shall be as the chaff roll, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land.
Pause right there. So on this map right here that you see, I want you guys to look on the right-hand side. You see where is? Is basically in the time of the scriptures in the fall of Babylon. That's Chaldea. So this is the reference point, the capital, so to speak, where a lot of the administration is coming from. And again, this right here is the is the political divide between where you see Babylon right here. This is where the institution of Marduk or Bel was worshipped, and then you have with Belshazzar and Nebuchadnezzar trying to worship the god or the goddess Sin. So that's where the political divide is. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand, because you're worshiping two different gods with two different customs and two different religious and political and financial rights. Going to the second slide, this is the kingdom of Media. This is above north, as you can see. This is north of, you can see kind of at the bottom right here, not in green, but this is the kingdom that's in the north that is spoken about, what we read about first, and they're going to read about in a little bit as well too. This with a whole couple of other ones. I want you to take note of, where it says Media right here, and then Armenia, and then Cappadocia, basically Asia Minor. I want you to take note of those northern nations as well too for this prophecy. But you can continue reading, Mattatya.
Verse 15. Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword.
Jump to verse 17.
Verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, and their eyes shall not spare children.
Khan. So the Medes were a people known for their archers and their bow and arrows as well too. When you actually look up the history, you're going to hear about a lot of, when you study this for your own, because we're probably not going to do too much of it, but in the prophecy against Babylon, you're going to read a lot about bows and shooting their arrows against Babylon. That's because these Median people, their military might was really strongly based off of their horsemen riding ship and their bows and arrows. So the Most High knew exactly how that Babylon was going to be taken over through military practices. So again, you read about the bow right there as well too, a projectile coming through. So I'm gonna come back up there, but you can read from verse 19 now.
Verse 19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but this basically saying the final end of Babylon and the main portions of the city-states, they're going to be ruins, and it'll never, ever be built upon again and built, founded upon to be livable. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah today. You can go there. It's still burning. There's still like smoke coming out of the ground, and it's like salt ruins. It's the same thing with Babylon, ancient Babylon that you see today. No one has built land upon it at all. It's just desolate and ruined still. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So go to chapter 14.
Start at verse 1.
No. You can read verse 4.
Verse 4. Well, chapter 14, verse 4. And thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor seized, the golden city seized? Mm-hmm. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with the continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth.
Khan. So again, the Most High is talking about the nature of Babylon. Again, they were the world empire of the world at that time. So the way that they got to that point was through oppression. They came in the way that they did to Jerusalem, and the destruction of our God, the true living God, and our people is the same they did to anyone and everyone else. It was beyond, almost like pretty much the children of Edom, like unwarranted. You did the extra, you did the most. You didn't have to do all that to the people in the lands and all that. So now the Most High is like, look, all the evils that you did in the oppression with it, you're going to get judged for that, even though you were supposed to be my vessel to accomplish these things, but you took it way too far. That's what's being spoken about in this particular instance. So I want to get another precept on that too. We're going to jump to Jeremiah. We're going to jump to Jeremiah for that now.
Are we holding that, or are we done with that?
We're pretty much done with that. Jeremiah chapter 50. Oh, shoot. Chapter 50. And I want you to read from verse 3 right now.
Verse 3?
Yeah.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 3. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell there. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast.
Now read verse 9.
Verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of a great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain.
So again, that north country being talked about again and again, and the arrows that come with it. Verse 11.
Verse 11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and below as bulls, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert.
Now, verse 17.
Verse 17. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria have devoured him, and last this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones.
So again, the Most High understanding and recognizing the forcefulness that Babylon, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, has put upon his people of Israel. Destroyers of my heritage. Again, you didn't have to destroy the temple and take the censers and the vessels like that. You could have just took the people and been out of it. But that's not what happened historically. So that's why these prophecies, again, Jeremiah and Isaiah, they prophesied these things a lot time before, and sometimes right before Babylon actually came in and did these things to Jerusalem. Let's see. I want to talk about the empire, the empire aspect of them. I want to get the right precepts. Read verse 29.
Verse 29. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her, for she hath been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel.
I just explained that. Again, the scriptures is letting you guys know what it's about. More proof and more precepts. Verse 7, the empire exhibit in the next chapter. 51 and verse 7.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Doesn't that sound familiar in the book of Revelations? That's why in the book of Revelations, this America, known as the daughter of Babylon, and in reference to spiritual Babylon, has done the same thing. All the nations of the world have drunk from the wine of the wrath and the cup of fornication of this America, spiritual Babylon, and that's exactly what was prophesied against the original Neo-Babylon back then. It was the same thing. That's the nature of oppressive world empires, you know, that take everybody and assimilate them in and make them pay tribute and make them worship their customs and ways and their gods. That's the madness that is being spoken about in this instance. The customs and the ways of that ruling nation. That's exactly what America does across the whole world. Look at what do? We go into, first of all, went into Iran, killed their leader, went into Venezuela, kidnapped their leader, installed democracy. Basically, it's the same thing as Babylon going in to these different nations and installing their god Marduk or Bel, Bel and the dragon, that whole story. That's the same thing that Babylon did back then that we could see parallel with America today.
Nothing new under the sun.
Right, nothing new under the sun. Go to verse 9.
Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord the vengeance of his temple.
The vengeance of his temple. Why did y'all destroy my temple and take my vessels and then honor them with your false gods by drinking and feasting with them? These are these were the previous points that I was trying to speak about that Babylon had against them, including the points that were made in the book of Daniel. So again, the rap sheet, the mene tekel part, these are the things that was being talked about against Babylon. You can go to verse 17.
Verse 17, every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there's no breath in them.
So this is exactly what was trying to be happen to Daniel and his three friends. They were being forced to submit into that particular God, to bow down and worship them. And this is how they ruled their kingdom. And this is the oppression of the poor and the oppression of the nations that the Most High God is speaking about. Go to jump down to verse 44.
Verse 44, and I will punish Baal in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall.
And now go back to chapter 50 and read verse 2.
Chapter 50, verse 2. Declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say Babylon is taken. Baal is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces.
So again, these are the two originally the main idols and the main false gods of Babylon that at the empire they try to make everybody accept and to worship. And the Most High God was saying your forcefulness of doing this, which is the complete opposite of what the Persian and Medes would be doing, is unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and I got to destroy you for being that destroyer. Go to verse 25 in chapter 51.
Chapter 51, verse 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroys all the earth, and I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain.
Now verse 34.
Verse 34. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out.
The nature of a world empire. Now I want to bring out the nations, the other northern nations, including the Medes, that were going to shoot their bows against them in battle and war. And that's in verse 27, same chapter.
Verse 27. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat.
So if you remember that map, Ararat, and that map that I had brought out with all the green, you seen Media, and then you seen Armenia up there. That's where Mount Ararat is. So again, all these kingdoms of the north, that includes in this, and that's the prophecy fulfilling itself. All the kingdoms, not all of them, but a group of the kingdoms from Asia Minor, which is Armenia and Mount Ararat and the land of Ararat, are some of the many ones that are going to come up against Babylon at this particular point in time. You can read on.
Mini and Ashkenaz appoint a captain against her and cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion.
Big con. And lastly, precept-wise, you can go to stay in 51 and read verse 60, and then I'm going to talk for a minute.
Verse 60. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when thou comest to Babylon and shall see and shall read all these words. Then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever.
So again, that is the biblical side of the prophecies and the eventual demise of the Babylonian Empire. So again, the main previous strikes before Daniel gets it was the fact that it became a world empire, no different than when Nimrod before Abraham did the same thing. And then it's not giving too much detail about what Nimrod did, but you can look at Babylon in this aspect of prophecy, and you can look at America in today's aspect of prophecy and see the same parallels. This is the exact same thing that Nimrod must have been doing back in Genesis 10. And that the Most High seen against him. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. This man was going from his own city-state and taking other city-states and making them submit to basically his will and his gods, his false gods, and his province. That's no different than what we see here with Babylon in America today. But this is how the Most High had organized. We often say that the Most High doesn't care, and he doesn't, not like Israel. He doesn't care about these other nations, but he still has an organized structure. Yes, there's likened to a drop in a bucket, but a drop in a bucket is still, a little bit of something. And that's what we have in Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. I want to read you this. Even when you break against this, which is the whole nature of an empire, unless it's the righteous empire of Yahweh and his kingdom, he's not accepting of it. He divided to the nations everyone that they're supposed to do to be used and utilized by his chosen people, Israel, which is not what's happening when you got Babylon and Assyria and the Persians, the Medes, and Greek doing what they're doing to become established world empires. It's not working in the favor of the Most High.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
So those boundaries were broken by Babylon. No different than in the law, where we have a law within not Jerusalem, within Israel, that you're not supposed to remove your neighbor's landmark. That means the landmark basically means you as my neighbor can't go beyond this mark because this is all my territory. It's a line. It's a line that's supposed to be respected and kept, and that's supposed to be a law that we keep within ourselves. These nations, these world empire nations weren't respecting those boundaries that the Most High had set between them and the gods that they serve. It's like, okay, you guys can do that over there, but keep that within yourselves. And this is Yahweh speaking, but just don't bring that within my chosen people, because they actually know the truth. Y'all do what you got to do over there. You're going to be utilized as servants anyway, and we eventually recognize me, but just don't bring that to my people. But then the greed of the serving of these forces and these false gods and these idols established these world empires, and that offended Yahweh. And that's why in these books of Isaiah and the book of Ezekiel and Jeremiah, you not only see prophecies speaking out against the children of Israel, but you see these prophecies speaking out against the other nations as well too. Babylon included, Edom included, Moab, Ammon included. This lesson is not for them, but when you read towards the middle and the ends of these great prophets and prophecy books, you see that these other nations did something to where they broke Deuteronomy 32 and 8. They went beyond their bounds and their boundaries that Yahweh had set so he could keep things in order, and he didn't like that, so he's got to judge them. Jeremiah, to kind of emphasize that, I want to read Jeremiah 50 and 2 again real quick too.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50 and verse 2. Declare ye among the nations, and publish and set up a standard, and publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces.
So again, that instituting the worship of these other gods, because that was the main basis in the ancient days, was like, okay, my God is against your God. Today, we don't really say that because a lot of that false idolatry worship is kept in secret and occult grounds, but they were more overt with whom they worship back then than who we are today. Today is more sanitized, and it's like, oh, it's humanitarian stuff like that. Where in the secret and in the dark, a lot of the power that these nations get do come from worshiping their false forces and their gods as well too. Yeah. So, with that being said, proofs in the pudding. So, proofs in the pudding. Yes. Now we know, coming to the close of this lesson, Babylon was destroyed, and the cities were actually laid desolate and ruined. Let's read that really quick in Jeremiah 50 and 39. The ruinous aspect of Babylon finally being judged of it.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 39. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owl shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation.
And then back to Isaiah 13, 21 and 22. Those two scriptures are parallel and saying the same thing. And these are I guess, would you say, attributes or fruits of a ruined region or ruined city in particular.
Con, you said
21 and 22, Isaiah 13.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, starting at verse 21. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged.
So when you look at Babylon today, no different than how, a lot of Christians promote and see, Sodom and Gomorrah today. You go basically in Iraq. The region of Iraq is pretty much Mesopotamia still. 50 miles south from Baghdad, Iraq, is the ruins of the city of Babylon. And to this day, you can still see it's laid to the foundations. It looks like someone built sandcastles there, in that area. And there are military personnel back in 2003, 2002, 2001, 2004 with the Iraq and U.S. war. Military personnel were camped in that area, not in the city, but in the outskirts of it, at a place called Camp Babylon. And we have a brother in the congregate here that's a testament of that, because he was actually in the military at that time. But again, these military personnel that you can find their testimonies, the ones that said that they were there, they said when the scriptures talk about the wild beasts and the wild creatures and the satyrs, the King James Version kind of gives you like a clean version, but some of those things that they're talking about are like demons and supernatural entities, which the scriptures already know they talk about. Yahushua was casting out demons that went into pigs and everything like that. And even the Catholic Church has their pagan rites in exorcism of demons, such like that. But these things, demons, like unclean places and ruined places so they can, live and dwell. That's what we speak about here. And these military personnel at Camp Babylon, their testimonies are, at night, they would hear screeching and yelling from strange, I can't find what's going on, and see shadows and figures. And the Muslim people call them jinn, which is just another word for demons. And even the Mesopotamians historically have noted about these forces that are around there that are kept outside of the city, but now it's ruined, so now they're in, called Alu. So these are all proofs today, too, that what the Bible said, it's going to be a ruined place where wild creatures and satyrs or demons and stuff like that are going to be inhabiting the place. And these testimonies are spoken about. Camp Babylon, from the Iraq War. People have their testimonies that are talking about all the time. So with that, you guys, as a historic proof, that's all I really got to say about the fall of Babylon and the ruin that it still is today. And what you're going to likely see again in the book of Revelations happen to this America that's also spiritually called Babylon. I'm not going to say it's going to happen the exact same fashion or form. I do find it interesting, though, that Iran, who historically is the Persian and Medes, is the war that's currently happening on right now. But I'm not going to say that in the prophecy of Jeremiah and Isaiah, it's going to go down exactly as that, because north of America is what Canada. It's not Iraq. It's not Mini. It's not those people. But we do know that as war goes, this place is prophetically going to get destroyed, just like ancient Babylon. Do you have anything you wanted to say?
No, good job, huh?
All praise to the Most High. Well, you guys, hopefully that was edifying. Hopefully we can do some mastery like that again. Definitely, you can verify and fact check a lot of the stuff that was spoken about, and we'll be back on the next one. So with that, I say shalom and good night, good morning, or whatever time of the day you happen to be in.
Shalom.